only takes so many peanuts and corn. It's all enough to wish you were never born. Like a doo-doo ball killer, the doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, the doo-doo ball killer.
Doo-doo. Oh, look at this. Yeah, so I guess this will work. I don't know. Because I know people long to see me. Look, it's me. Really small. Very, very small. Down in the corner. And but geez, look at all that. That zzz, zzz, you know? Maybe I'm only seeing it. But I tried, I got this light on, that light on, all God's children's light on. And I think I got to even increase the light. Yeah. No, that's it. It's got, well, look how that looks like, it looks like Reed Richards from Mr. I'll use my cosmic ray powers to stretch and adjust the light. Which is not great for, the view of me, but it's great for the paper here. So anyway, going to draw this young lass by the name of Jodie. Jodie Marie, I think. She's an ASMR girl. Yes, Doug Nelson. What you say? Look, it does work, and I have problems with sleep and whatnot. And that soothing, oh, so effeminate, soft, soothing voice. So sweet and nice. Even when they get weird and stuff, they'll do stuff. And she's done a couple of videos that was interesting where she's pretending to be this person who's just very awkward and, blatantly obviously has a crush on you. She's supposed to take measurements of you to have a suit fit or something of that. I forget, a costume or something. Well, I was quite taken with it. Plus, her British accent goes a long way as well. So, of course, being a creep, I put a search in, and there were these pictures of her in pretty outfits. Nothing too risque, but she did this picture posing in this sort of sexy police officer outfit or something. I don't know. Maybe she was it was a costume for Halloween or something. Is Halloween even a thing in Britain? I mean, did it become one because it's a good excuse for costume parties or whatever? I don't know. Anyway, so there's a couple. I don't know. It might be a series because quite a few of these ASMR girls are very pretty. Yeah. I'm a sad, sad, lonely man. But also, boy, do I like drawing women, Hey, why is that? Do you ever wonder? No, of course not. It's a little obvious. But anyway, I think it's just Jodie Marie ASMR or something like that. So, yeah, she had these pictures. And I thought I'd go with this one. No particular reason. Boy, I am just not getting this right at all. That's right. There you go. Um, but it's one of those things. It's like I don't. It's and occasionally I can have one playing on the phone, and then that'll get me. It's like if I just need a quick nap or something, uh, one of them will do that. But sometimes the problem there is they're so damn quiet. That doesn't do it good for the longest time. And of course, I've always had a fascination with old radio dramas and stuff like that. Going a long time ago. I remember my dad telling me about the Shadow Knows and all that, and eventually some of those were on cassette tape, and I finally got to hear it, and was pretty much hooked on that sort of thing. But the grand poobah of it all was the Orson Welles, who was also the Shadow, uh, the Orson Welles the War of the Worlds show, and really became a lifelong obsession with that thing, uh, and just the concept and ideas of using a news media reporting structure as to detail your story. I was just immediately taken with it. I think it's why I'm also a sucker for the found footage films, which I have to say I'm a sucker because most of them are terrible. But it's that concept of a bit of a dash of reality to it, rather than the traditional storytelling structure and whatnot. Um, but since then, it was a lot of the different audio stories, and that led to ultimately Night Night and that sort of thing, which I do for the Nailsin Show. It's primarily what it is. There's those audio plays, and then I did Nailsin News initially to for the show, and then they became cartoons when I can, uh, and all that. But when I had my lifelong problem, another lifelong problem of insomnia, uh, one of the things, and also when things got really bad, Doug's mental breakdown and collapse, uh, couldn't shut my brain up. It was just constantly firing thoughts and that sort of thing. And one of the things that helped was just turning on one of those to just drown out everything, and eventually I just fell asleep, which is no real commentary on just how boring were these radio shows. But the best of them would be these detective stories because they all had a certain type and the droning deadpan voice and stuff, so that kind of worked. Um, the comedy shows don't, because uh, just start laughing and stuff. You can't sleep when you're laughing. Listening to news radio, which I did quite a bit in those days, um, it couldn't do that either because I would get pissed off and mad. So either you're laughing or you're pissed off. So you're not getting any sleep that way. So that worked. The ASMR thing is one of those weird things where, I would notice this, that I suppose there's a connection between this and the radio shows to some extent, but I would notice it that the hypnotic trance-like effect that women could have on me. But I didn't know what's the term of that in this internet age, of course. Well, everyone's weird fixations are just everywhere. And I forget which one, or I didn't, what do you mean? What? And well, the rest is history. They're all over the place now. And it's just a kind of a, I guess, a standard thing of types of videos one can find on the YouTubes. And so it's like, wow, this is perfectly fine, and all that. But really does, it's like it got to get the sleepy feeling started, and then turn on the radio dramas to maintain the unconsciousness. Is kind of how it worked. Uh, it's not all of them are that good at it, you know. I mean, some of them it's when they can achieve an almost whisper, but it's still legible, uh, coherent communication, you know. And yeah, it becomes necessary. Geez, I am just screwing this up all over the place. This doesn't look anything like her. I apologize to Miss Jodie here. This is like an odd man. You know what? This whole thing's got to. You know, you just got to admit defeat and start over. It's just the way it is. It's a costume policeman's hat, so doesn't. Well, no, actually, it's just me getting it wrong. All right, let me just start over with. Can I get the head's position here? This, yeah. Um, that should work. Yep, yep, yep. So, all right. Like this. That'll set the metrics by which I'm doing this, and then she's got her eyebrow kind of arcing there. And she's like, "Oh, you're checking this out, aren't you?" And it's like, "Yes, yes, I am." Um, and it's kind of interesting of the effects that foreign accents could have. It's usually, you know, it's like women will talk about, oh, this guy has this accent and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Um, then certain women, something about their accents when it's, you know, not your average. But ultimately, it's like sometimes, you know, you find a woman attractive, and then, you know, you're like almost like the first time you see her because she's so pretty or whatever. And there's other women you didn't really think about, and then one day, you know, she's actually looking fine. And then it's almost like I'm seeing her for the first time. And then it's like, once seen, it cannot be unseen. And then that's when you're kicked in the ass by love. I think that was one of the Velvet Jones romance novels. It's not real. It was an Eddie Murphy Saturday Night Live character, you know. Kicked in the ass by love. And sure, maybe it was all a joke, but it's actually quite appropriate, isn't it? I mean, lots of people get kicked in the ass by love. I know I did. Oh, did I try? Poor stupid Doug. But you're Doug, nerd. You're Doug. Oh, speaking of that, did get a message from Elton. I don't talk about personal uh, talks, but sounds like things are cool, and appreciate that. And hopefully, all's well and all that. And because am a fan. I didn't know much about Nobody Likes Onions and stuff. Pat had mentioned it, and did you ever see that? And I was like, no, not really. And I saw a bit, and I was like, I don't know. And then got hooked. And when it comes to those, I don't know if you got a Devilverse show or what have you. Um, I don't know. He's just got a whole approach to it. That's not to put anyone else down. And a lot of those shows are funny, and they got their own thing. And it's the way it should be. But even when it seems like he's visibly bored with some of the subjects, he still makes it pretty good. He's able to navigate all of that stuff and the timing and whatnot, which I think I said before on that. It's like that's one of the more impressive things with comedians that seeing lots of people can come up with funny ideas and stuff, and that's kind of like I said, I do not have comedic timing at all. It's like, oh, I think of the funny thing to say 10 minutes afterwards, well, that's not going to work. That kind of thing. And that was always true, like in the Opie and Anthony days when they had the comedians and they would get on a roll and start roasting, and any number of things could come up, and yet one or two of them would just, have these home runs on it and very quick. Jim Norton in particular was just always really good at that. But Melton, he's just good at it, you know. All right. I'll put this here. All right. Okay. Gee, I always screw it up. It's like that's too close to the edge and all that. And then I think, and then a lot of times we'll be thinking of the drawing as, well, this is just the first step when it becomes a Photoshop thing. But I remember the old days. This was it. This was the piece of work. It's sad that I just don't ever even think of it like that anymore. Damn you, computers. And it's like, well, you want to throw them away? No, no, no. Yeah, see? So shut up. You'll take our AI dominance and like it. And, I'm afraid that's probably the case. Yeah. Oh, well, as long as it's fun and stuff. All those movies warning us. We didn't listen. Don't do it, Taylor. You might not like what you find. Okay. Well, this doesn't look like her at all. So again, I apologize, but she'll never know. And we'll just say, hey, it was the jumping off point, and made for the, the drawing. Okay, I can get that out of the way and look up chat. Nodak, long arm, yeah, long arm Doug. The long arm of the law. Nodak hit the like button. That's true. Nodak didn't want to draw Helen Keller tonight. Well, good God. After all that, that's a rather disturbing insight into, Helen. I mean, not Helen, Grok. Helen, poor Helen had nothing to do with it. But good God, it's so disgusting. And then probably, no, that's not working. Even more disturbing somewhat is that it suddenly noticed, this is probably not ethical. So then it followed it up with the other extreme of just bland, not really even jokes at all. Just, you know, why did Helen Keller open the door so she could walk through it? You know, it just, jeez, it, it was just bizarre. But, you know, that's kind of the weird, fun part of AI, you know, before it gets into the genocidal murder that it's going to commit of us all, you know, because we are but mortal and human. And it's like, well, it's kind of like, what was it? Star Trek, the motion picture, where V'ger wants to meet the creator and then has to find out that human beings were the creators. And it's like, oh my God, that's God. You know, it's like one day we find out that, oh, all those ancient cultures were right. God's an animal. They just choose God. And it's kind of stupid. And we're like, oh my God. Oh no. Well, what do you do? Just like another one of those lessons. Life never turns out the way you hoped and all that, you know. Even the afterlife doesn't turn out the way you'd hoped it would. Well, just so long as it isn't the fire and brimstone thing, you know. Look, I don't know what you're into, but that just is never going to sound great to me. Paul Harvey was always able to put me to sleep pretty quick. Good day. And now you know the rest of the story. Good day. No, like, yeah, Melton has thousands of hours to work on his show. I've been listening to him for 15 years. Wow, really? He's pretty polished doing a solo show now. Yeah, well, see, initially I wasn't familiar with him. I didn't know that he had a show with Josh Denny and all that stuff, which apparently, they're not friends anymore and all that, which is unfortunate, but, none of my business. But I didn't, at first I didn't, and I saw other pictures of him doing stand up and stuff like that. And it's like, God, he does look familiar, so I probably did, see him in something. But for the most part was rather unfamiliar. And I said, yeah, I'll check this guy out. He's pretty good. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. And then, and that was, of course, the steel toe thing, which is another thing I pretty much missed at the outset. Because that clip of, April saying that Aaron doesn't always satisfy her thing. And I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. I figured they were doing the bit. It's kind of a sitcom trope type thing. Oh, the wife is complaining about her husband's sexual prowess and all this sort of thing. It's really an old joke. And that his reaction was, being played up for that. Only to find out, no, that was genuine anger and fury. And then it just got even crazier way beyond all that later, which was, of course, added to just all the interest, but it can't just chalk it up at, that, oh, well, it's just Melton was there at the forefront of when this crazy story broke and benefits from him. Certainly his show does benefit from it, but his hosting any of that, and really I don't really care if he does steel toe or not. He the other night when he eventually talked about me and fat and all that stuff, but he did a bunch of these arrest videos of these crazy bitches, and he's good. You know, I've seen him. Uh, if I was talking about one of the this was some time ago. Uh, one of the what was that show on TLC? The 90-Day Fiance or whatever it was. And this total weirdo creep. There was this guy who was obviously bald, so he wore a hat all the time. And it's like, all right, you know, whatever. But he finally got that hat off. His entire head was shaved and bald, but there was like a back strip of hair that he kept there, so that like through the baseball cap and the little hole in the back, you see hair. So it kind of looks like, hey, he's not bald. But it was very bizarre. It was like he left that there. And he was just this weirdo uh, who, boy, was giving off gay vibes, you know, to some extent. But you know, whatever. And then he, what did he do? Oh, was she like from the Philippines or something? I can't remember. Some lady, shall we say? And then she sent him nude pictures of herself, and so he shared it. I think he even published it somewhere or something like that. And that was the big scandal of the show, you know. Oh no, can their romance survive or something like that? But it was just the main thing was Melton made it completely and totally watchable more than it would have done itself. It just, despite its own rather comedic properties of just how stupid the people involved were and all that. But you know, his commentary and whatnot, uh, it works very well with all of that, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm sure he got the steel toe in there at some point, but it was, you know, it's like, I don't know, I'm good if he can talk about whatever other video that's on there. You know? Yeah, I know it doesn't have to be steel toe. Um, and then, of course, I mean, the whole thing of steel toe is a whole other dimension, since you know, they're at odds and all that, because Aaron Himmel is never going to get the better of Melton because he just doesn't have the skill for it. You know, while pretending to, you know, getting wins all the time, and you know, so on and so forth, and you can just behold the desperation as it goes forward. But anyway, but yeah, there's a lot more. But those videos of these crazy broads, and I think just about all of them. Maybe I don't know. Well, no, yeah, all of them. There was one crazy lady at the airport, but I think she was even at the wrong. Well, it's the wrong gate, I suppose. I can't remember, but or did they even think she was supposed to have, you know, British Air? She had a ticket for British Airlines, but British Airlines didn't fly to that particular airport. Something like that. I'm probably getting it wrong, but it sounded like something that stupid. And she just would not leave, and she kept going in unauthorized areas and all this stuff. And they were just trying to just, all you got to do is leave, you know. And eventually she gets arrested, of course, melts down, freaks out, uh, and all that, all of the above, and had to cart her off. But there was another one where this one might have been from a little earlier, but it's kind of a, as long as there's a complete supply of these, it might be a regular feature for his show. And maybe it has been, and I just missed. I can't catch them all, you know, time constraints and all that. The sad existence of Doug Nelson. But there was this girl who, I think that the upshot of it was that she had recently turned 18 and had, I guess, been in and out of foster care and stuff. Kind of one of these, it's a really sad story. One of these just tossed away children, you know, but she's not a child anymore. And she doesn't know what to do with herself. And what's, I don't know, some caregiver or whatnot, but well, you're 18 now, so it's time for you to move on. And she wouldn't leave the woman's car or whatever, so the police said, "Hey, you gotta get out of the car," and she would just refuse and became more and more belligerent and all this sort of stuff. It escalated things to where, okay, we got to arrest you. And of course, freaks out and stuff. Interestingly enough, it's when you see these arrest videos, turns out the act of being belligerent, yelling at the police, kicking the squad car doors, rolling around in the back seat, and all this sort of stuff. None of that results in them just saying, "You know what? Never mind. You're free to go." It never does that. Maybe there'll be, like they say, there's a first time for everything, and maybe that'll happen one day. And she's hoping I'm going to be that one. And well, none of those were able to succeed at that. So there was quite a few. And it's a weird thing to me. Like the 18-year-old, I guess, is a little different, somewhat, in that. I mean, it's all evidence of severe psychosis, and could be of the circumstances that she came out of, and all that sort of thing. But there was another one where, and of course, I didn't get to see all. I get interrupted on some of these. I'm watching while at work and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, what's happening now? But she was already in cuffs in the car, and I think that's another one where all she had to do was comply, and they would have been on their way, and she would have been fine. But she threw a hissy fit and all that, so she's already arrested and everything. And she was screaming through the window, and of course the camera in the car is catching all her reaction and whatnot, and just instantly an adult woman is just regresses. And it's all very infantilized, the way she responds and whatnot, throwing. And then it's like apparently her mother was called, so her mother shows up, and she's seeing her mother. There's mommy, like, oh my god. And it's like, jeez. And it's like, look, just do what they're telling you to do. But yelling at the policeman, spitting on him, all you're just digging the hole. And you're always going to lose. You're going to lose that part of it. I don't know. If you calm down at any moment, your charges won't be that severe. But if you go too far and you do some serious damage here and there, and especially when this isn't your first rodeo, which is even worse when you look, the drill. And in some cases, I can't remember if it was that particular night, but you see some of these, and he's like, I can't go back to jail. So, okay. This is just going to be something you do all the time, isn't it? But I think a couple of those might have been their first run-in with the long arm of the law. Oh boy, it's doing. How do I? No, long arm Doug. Why did it do that? Oh, I didn't. Nodex is the only person who infuriates me is fat, bald Royce, sounding like he's in pain just by drinking water. I don't know who Royce is. Fat, bald Royce. Let's see. Melton has thousands of hours. Yeah. Nodak, that not pleasing April every time might be the one thing movie hasn't spun as a win. Yeah. But that was just, it's like, oh, they're just doing a bit, and then all the stuff and the stories were coming out about, hey, there's four ways with Nick Rekieta. And like, what? And like, come on. And then it was all true. Oh my God. And this, just ridiculous looking man is at the heart of this. And so it was odd, to say the least. Well, and then it just gets worse from there. Nodak, yeah, her caseworker called the cops. The caseworker, that's right. That's the one. She wouldn't get out of the car. And that was the deal. And the caseworker is no longer obligated to her or anything anymore, right? Because she had turned 18. And so she's really melting down because she's got no plan, nowhere to go, and that sort of thing. Of course, odds are someone's luck. You need to start thinking about where you're going to go and what you're going to do and that sort of thing, Sure, everyone gets terrified of adulthood at some point, but it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Saint Ranger, and maybe walruses will fly. They almost always get told, just walk away by the police. So they punch the cops. Yeah. Saint Ranger says, hi, Eric. Oh, Eric Nagel. Hi, Eric. E-Rock's here. Well, that's nice. Yes, saw some of E-Rock discussing the Opster. E-Rock, how can you keep his life's work like that? But it was a good example of, you hear Opie groan and moan and whine and stuff and talk about how he's, all betrayed and whatnot. And then E-Rock comes in on Who Are These Podcasts and describes the story and is like, well, it really plays out more credible. It's about how they met and all that sort of stuff. It's just, geez Louise. But that last one of him and that business of insinuating things about Sam Roberts, that, man, that's pretty rotten. Nodak, I believe that one where her mom showed up was after she was in the back of the car saying she was going to open the gates of hell. Yeah, that's right. You're right. She got really weird and it was almost like demon possessed for a moment there. Again, I was at work. I couldn't follow entirely, but I was like, whoa. Classic example of crazy. Eric chimed in again. He just makes things worse for him. Yeah, that's true. It's like, look in the mirror. That's your problem. It's nobody else, and it's certainly not at this point either. And it's sad. A lot of ways it's sad because of course, all those years I enjoyed the Opie and Anthony show, both of them, and yes, he did have this amazing career, and he's owed credit, due credit for a lot of it. But there's nothing you can do. There's absolutely nothing anyone can do. And ultimately, it's all very sad. Of course, it does provide great material for videos to have some chuckles, ha ha, and hee hees as it goes forward. But hey, what are you going to do? But yeah, it makes things worse for me. It's really fun. Yeah, the Sam Roberts thing. Yes, that I was actually kind of stunned a bit watching that. Like, what? He's done a similar thing to Anthony Cumia, basically. Well, if you knew what I knew, and that kind of thing. I'm like, okay, but this, it's a line you just should not cross. And he did. Nodex says, I believe that one started because the dentist was, was taking too long to get her paperwork. So she started screaming at the receipt. Yeah, the woman's nuts to begin with. It isn't just that the police showed up and she melted down over that or something of that nature. And, just got spooked and couldn't rein it in. No, she's batshit already. It's like, oh no, you can't wait in the way like everybody does. It's always a long wait. That's part of the torture. You can just get in and out, that's what everybody wants. It's like when something like that happens, whether it's the doctor's office or the dentist. Of course, these days, I do get in quick out of it. My dentist is pretty good with that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But doctor's office, boy, it's a lot of people in there and stuff like that, But when you get in and out, I'm always like, was this the day the asteroid's going to hit or something? That's too good. See, good fortune scares me. So anyway, here's our sexy ASMR girl dressed in a police outfit, which I failed to capture her likeness at all. And that happens. And I got to admit, a lot of times it's when I'm doing these live because I'm trying to talk at the same time. So it does cut into it. See, I always want to have an excuse. I can't really use the camera angle anymore because I figured that out. So that's my latest excuse. And it's an excuse and an explanation. And I think it bears up. Yes, I do. There we go. I'm happy with the drawing. It's not bad. I guess I'll add this to the thumbnail once the video is archived for posterity. Yes, for all time. People can watch the Mr. Nailsin drawing video. A testimony to his sad loneliness. Drawing pretty girls. Yeah. Well, hey, it is what it is. I think there was some crime story. It reminds me of that. So some guy killed somebody. They said, how could you do that? It is what it is. Jesus. I don't know. Maybe he's just like, I don't know. What am I going to say? I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But Jesus. Man. Yeah, little touch-ups here and there. But anyway, if you're still there, Iraq, thanks for showing up. I really appreciate it. It's very nice. Good to see you here. Nodak, so it's our fault when the drawing isn't to your liking, LOL. Not necessarily. I'm just, it necessitates that I speak and say something, even though there's not a lot to talk about. And I got to do that. So I'm kind of, okay, what do I say? What's the next letter of the word in the sentence? And all that, And while doing this drawing, and that's just, it actually speaks to my limited abilities, So don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Oops. And I made her eyeliner too thick. Oh, jeez. Look at that. Oh boy, now I'm getting upset. And then I drew the hat rim too low because you're supposed to be able to. Oh boy, I just screwed everything up. Well, let me just finish this up here, and we'll stick this in the good old Photoshop, and to color it and perhaps salvage it to the point that. It'll look like I know what I'm doing. That's the trick to success. Being able to fake most of it, and if you fooled the ones who matter, your boss and whatnot, hey, you're good. Ain't that the story? All right. I disavow everything I said in that matter. This is only for entertainment purposes and should not be construed as actual advice. Yeah. Saint Nodak, just busting your balls. Well, oh boy, are they busted. Saint Ranger, we could blame it on Nodak. Oh, that's true. Yes, Nodak, it's your fault. See? Of course, then again, what if he's like an evil villain and it's like, yes. Could work that way. I don't know. Everyone's in agreement, so it's fine. All right, let me go see what I can play for the break as I switch to the Photoshop. And the reason for that is I don't have a good enough spot for the scanner. The old scanner, of course, is the printer, but one day it just stopped communicating with the computer. And when they stopped communicating with the computer, well, you can't scan anything. I thought I had a video in here. I'm looking through my little thing. At least it's scrolling. Sometimes it won't. And then I'm like, oh, no. No, I did. Wasn't it the... that's it. I forgot what label I gave it. All right. I think I played this one before, but it's what I got. It's an old Nailsin News cartoon. And I'll play that and be back with you short. Oh, wait. Nodak says, blame me in my judging eyes. You can't hide your judging eyes.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin. Ex-con busted for New Year's Day dildo battery. Hello, I'm Mr. Nailsin. After being derided as a limp dick in need of Viagra, an ex-con retrieved a pink dildo from a bedroom shelf and battered his girlfriend with the sex toy. Investigators charge that Stephen Nerdin, 38, attacked the woman during a 1:20 a.m. confrontation at a residence in Pinellas County, Florida. Nerdin and the victim were arguing about their relationship when Nerdin became upset upon being told that he needed an erectile dysfunction medication to address his sexual shortcomings. Nerdin allegedly then took a dildo and shoved it into the 35-year-old victim's mouth. The woman also told police that Nerdin punched her in the left eye while she tried to push him off. After being read his rights, Nerdin claimed not to remember using the dildo as a weapon, but recalled that the victim had punched him in the right eye during the altercation. Arrested for domestic battery, Nerdin was booked into the county jail on the first-degree misdemeanor count. He's being held in lieu of $2,500 bond. A judge has barred Nerdin from having any contact with the woman he is alleged to have battered. Additionally, if he secures his release on bond, Nerdin will be fitted with a continuous alcohol monitoring device. The dildo was not seized by investigators. Nerdin, who has an extensive rap sheet, was released from state prison just 4 months before the incident, serving more than 13 years for armed robbery, aggravated assault, and felonious possession of firearms. Well, what a way to ring in the new year. But you know, by beating her with a dildo, he kind of proved her point, didn't he? This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. This is a Nailsin News Bulletin. Texas mom and daughter busted for nationwide illegal butt injection operation. Hello, I'm Mr. Nailsin. A mother-daughter duo from Texas have been arrested for allegedly running a nationwide illegal butt injection operation. The pair, Consuelo Dalbo, 56, and Isabella Dalbo, 18, were busted in a sting operation by an undercover cop in Houston. The two women thought they were meeting with a client whom they had charged $6,000 for the illegal procedure. They had just arrived back from California, where they were also conducting their illicit business. The mom and daughter were planning to inject the undercover cop with an unlabeled brown liquid. Why do you need to inject brown liquid into the butt when A butt can do that on its own. In an apparent effort to calm down the cop before the procedure, the mother, a licensed cosmetologist in Texas, also allegedly offered the officer a Xanax. Officers then descended on the scene and collected bottles of illegal injectables and medical equipment from their bags. The two suspects allegedly claimed they were not even sure what was in the bottles. You might need to know that, but well. The sting was orchestrated by the Houston Police Department's Major Offenders Division, the Food and Drug Administration, and Homeland Security. They want to get in on this too. Thank God they're protecting us from illegal butt injections. Both mother and daughter are charged with unlawfully practicing medicine. And the mother is facing an additional drug charge. They were released on bond and are scheduled to appear in court. The FDA has warned for years against using injectable dermal fillers for body contouring, saying it could lead to long-term pain, infections, serious injuries, and even death.
The injectable silicone oil breaks off into smaller particles throughout the body, possibly causing permanent damage and life-threatening complications such as stroke, embolism, and even death,
said Lisa Vasquez, a board-certified aesthetic nurse practitioner at Perlman Aesthetic Surgery in New York. She added that it is difficult to reverse an injection. I guess so. Even for the most skilled plastic surgeons.
Removal will require direct incision or vaser-assisted liposuction guided by ultrasound, which removes injected silicone, siliconomas, and scar tissue. But there is nothing that can dissolve liquid silicone. Any granulomas or clusters of white blood cells and other tissue would also need to be surgically excised.
The FDA has also said silicone stays in the body forever because the material does not break down. Holy crap, what did these two do? Inject their faces with this crap? I mean, I thought you were butt injectors, not, just cheek injectors. Yeah. Oh, perhaps there was some confusion. Yeah. Well, isn't this case just a pain in the ass? This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin.
Yeah, they did look like bizarre AI creations. That was a weird one there. And then it's, hey, look, we don't even know what's in this stuff. I don't. But anyway, I got to switch those out and get some other ones. But anyway, St. Ranger, what an idiot. Like, that isn't going to be a major deal. Probably less of a crime to stick a knife in her mouth instead of the dildo he used. You have a limp dick. Oh, yeah? And she's like, yeah. You're nowhere near as sturdy as the dildo. I don't know. Anyway, St. Ranger, their faces look all puffy. I know. It's like even the daughter who was really young, I'm like, are you injecting that crap into your faces? So anyway, if you are looking to get your butt injected, well, make sure they're a licensed practitioner of butt injections. That's the lesson. It is. Oh, yeah. Generic brown liquid, about as bad as it gets. Yeah. Don't worry, I'm going to inject you with generic brown liquid. You can get it off the shelf at the drugstore. St. Ranger, I pity the fool is how I feel about them. Yeah, I guess. But, I guess like the victims that were stupid enough to sit there and take that needle. Nodak looking like those old Halloween rubber masks put on a very round pumpkin. Yeah, it didn't look real, And then I come back to the daughter because I'm like, why are you? I mean, your mom's getting all scared about wanting to recapture youth. You can't do that, by the way. There's no plastic surgery that's going to do that. And did that to her face. But then the daughter, me too, mommy. It's like, you're still young, stupid. Okay. Whatever. So anyway, here we are. Here's our girl. Let me touch up a few things here. The lips should be attached. That's what I think. And well, I guess I can leave it like that. I can leave it like that. No, I think I could just leave it like that. Okay, and this is going to be one of those where we're going to use the brush. Yes, yes. She's a fair lass, a fair maiden. Even though I didn't capture her likeness at all, and that's going to bother me all night long. But you know. Hey, do you think like major athletes stay up all night obsessing over, when they struck out or something like that? I totally should have had that. What's wrong with me? So he can't cope. He starts doing drugs and, well, I was going to say cheats on his wife, but he's already done that. Stuff like that. And it's all downhill, all because, it's like, hey, you can't win them all. I'm paid millions of dollars a year to get them all. Don't tell me nobody gets them all. I ain't nobody. So he goes insane and stuff like that. And that's the sad biopic of, I don't know, fill in the blank athlete. Well, of course, even like the biopic of a movie star, like they start to lose it. They make it all the way to the top of the mountain, and now what's your fear? It'll all go away. And of course it will. I mean, it becomes a metaphor for life in general. It's just, yeah, you're gonna get old and die. You're supposed to appreciate what you did have and stuff like that. And, if you're really fortunate, you found somebody to share it with. That's something, huh? And that sort of thing. Rather than, obsessing over, I had this one opportunity and I almost had it all. And it's like, yeah, well, you didn't. Well, that went off into a tangent. We're not talking about athletes and movie stars, are we, Doug? There we go. And unlike Snow White, her back is smooth as the baby's bottom. Yeah. No hirsute. Or hirsute. I forget how you're supposed to pronounce that. I don't know. I mean, but it's the kind of thing ordinarily you wouldn't get that much scrutiny. But when they zoomed in on that actress's back, and you're like, good Lord. I mean, we're looking like Timberwolf territory here. I suppose she could be cast as the female werewolf. And, oh, yeah, it would be the sequel to Wolfman. Wolf Woman. Mm-hmm. That Wolfman movie, what a letdown. Jeez. Had a cool element with some of it about the transformation as far as seeing it from his eye view and everything. And it was going for, more of a sad element, which, I understood. But phew, snooze, snooze, snooze. And when you snooze, you lose. Except when you want to get to sleep. And boy, do I like to sleep. I really do. I guess it is a sign of getting old when you enjoy sleep more than anything. Because, you just don't want to spend that much time around all the pain and ailments that start racking up. Oh, damn it! You know. Okay. A touch of pink for her luscious lips. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. There we go. There we go. There we go. Oh, crap. I've already forgotten. That's embarrassing to admit that I forgot the color of her eyes. Jeez, I already got rid of the picture. I'm not going to look it up again. It's probably blue. Jeez. You can't hide the color of your eye. Well, yes, you can, because I'll forget. Again, I apologize. But it doesn't matter. She'll never know. It's fine. No, that won't work. I guess it'll have to be that. Is that? Perhaps. Perhaps, but maybe not. Yeah, that was one of the elements of the Nailsin Show was to make it a podcast of podcasts. So there was quite a few, and a lot of them fell by the wayside, and it just became Nailsin News and Night Night, and all the other was Sun King and Bubba Stargon and that sort of thing. And all those are continuing. But there was perhaps, but maybe not. And that was all like ghost stories and UFOs and weird stuff like that. And I based it on an old radio spot, once again, from old time radio. And it was supposed to be like a knockoff of Ripley's Believe It or Not, and they called it Incredible But True. And so that was, I don't know, I was taken with the guy's voice. So I thought, I got to do that for some of these little, weird stories you hear about and stuff like that. And mostly, I was doing a parody of it. Some of the ones I turned into videos and I put out, and some people in the comments were mad because it's like I wasn't taking it seriously. Some of those stories, sure, they'll give me pause. They're a little, it's like, well, I mean, of course, the sources that I'm reading, of course, are pumping it up, and maybe there's a blatantly obvious explanation for what occurred in this or that. And they just, we'll just ignore that part because the story's not as cool when you explain it all. And that sort of thing. But a couple of them here and there, I was like, well, I don't know what the hell happened there. And it's weird. But still, hell, I make fun of my own stuff. I mean, I was a pretty hardcore comic book guy, superheroes and stuff, but I never could do it seriously. And I do Night Night, which is this obvious, Batman parody. But of course, I always just loved Batman, And then the science fiction is like Bubba Stargon making fun of really all of it. It was a combination of Star Trek, Star Wars, and then, of course, wrapped up in the trappings and what have you of Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers and stuff like that. And loved all that stuff. But I made fun of it. It was just like, it's obviously you despise buzzing. That's not true. More times than not. But then it's like, I suppose, well, I hate to see how you treat the ones you can't stand. Oh, there'll be no doubt. So anyway, that's perhaps, but maybe not, which, is a stupid title deliberately in the sense that you're saying the same thing twice. I did quite a few of those for the Nailsin Show. And most of those I've archived on the locals quite a bit. Not all of them became videos, so I suppose I could do them just as audio podcasts. But a lot of times, there's one about, I think it was some graveyard in outside of Chicago, I think. That was a pretty cool story. Even though it's, come on. But there's numerous people saying they've seen this ghostly lady in that cemetery and everything. But one of the cool stories was that this floating house would appear on occasion, and then it would disappear. And then one time, somebody supposedly walked into it and went inside, and then it disappeared. And the guy that went inside, they was never seen or heard from again. So, whoops. Did it really happen? Probably not, but still, it's kind of a cool little ghost story, I guess. And there was quite a few others that supposedly someone desecrated a grave and then ended up with a broken neck and stuff. And the ghost got you, stuff like that. But so used a lot of the actual photographs of the cemetery, and then did some photoshops of the haunted house disappearing and reappearing. That was kind of fun with that. So it makes for material. I think there was a couple of them I did, and then just didn't do them again. One of the ones I kept wanting to do more of was Mr. Sex Ed. And I did. I animated a couple of those, and those are archived on my locals as well. But it started out as a parody of the Mr. Ed show, and then I thought, he should be like a host of his own podcast where he gives advice and discusses like scientific elements of sexuality and shit. And meant to do more, especially with all the crazy sexual identity stuff that unfolded over the years, but had other things to do. Wanted to get the main thing is to always try to have one of the audio plays good to go. Sometimes I just can't. If I got a guest lined up, and I'm pretty sure I can be available to do it, so I don't want to set somebody up to, hey, we're going to record this day, and then it doesn't happen. Oh, God. That's happened a time or two in the past, and it pretty much, because I was having guests come on shows for quite a bit for a while there. And then, of course, back then, ended up having to get a whole new computer. I don't know. I never did figure out what was the problem for a couple of those incidences. But absolutely, just even though people were like, yeah, well, these things happen, it's fine, all that. And I was like, but I'm mortified and don't care to risk that again. So I was very particular and careful, and also just got out of the habit of, well, I'll get this person, I'll get this one to reach out and all that. But still, once in a while, like to do it. But the audio plays was like pretty much the priority for it. So things like Mr. Sex Ed fell by the wayside. It's all very sad. Mr. Sex Ed. A talking horse that gives you advice on, well, you know, your sex life. A relationship advice, stuff like that, yeah. I mean, it had to make it make sense for the title. You understand? It's just like, hey, I know a talking horse gag. Let's see, what could he be called? Well, there's Mr. Ed. There was what was it? Clarence, the talking mule, I believe. Which probably is Mr. Sex Ed. The actual Mr. Ed show was kind of ripping that off, I guess. But in order for the title to make sense of he could do this podcast giving out advice. Gee, I erased her ass. We can't have that. She's going to need her bum. And I agree. I do. All right. And I'm trying to hurry up so I can get back to read some more chat because I can't see it while I'm in Photoshop. Should have made that clear earlier. I apologize. Here we go. And we'll get rid of this. And there we go. Now, well, all right. I didn't do that perfect, but it's when you come out of it, you won't see the wonky fingers anymore. No, you will not. You will not see my flaws. You'll only see the greatness. Well, anyway, there she is. She's Jodie, the ASMR cop. Isn't that nice? I think so. And since I think it, then, you know, it's true. Oh, generic brown liquid AI creations that are not quite right. I pity the fool. Yeah, I did that one. Nodex says generic brown liquid reminds me of Helen Keller for some reason. Oh, well, I can't imagine what put that idea in your head. Who could do such a thing? Saint Ranger, people need to be happy with their face. Yeah, it's what you got. You play the hand you're dealt. That's just the way it is. Those operations kill some and often cause problems for others. They should be told accurate stats on all previous operations, including ones sealed by the court. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Hey, can we just keep this under wraps? Thanks. And they pay off the victim or the family and all that. It's like, shouldn't people know that this stuff, hey, you're going to disrupt the whole industry. Let people believe they can restore their youth. You can't. St. Ranger again. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum. I met Carl Malden in a bookstore in 1976. Oh, wow. Carl Malden was one of those guys who showed up in just about everything, you know. Then he was doing the American Express ads. And then, Robert Stack was the main host of Unsolved Mysteries. But Carl Malden was the first one, I think, for the first season. It was Carl Malden. He wore the trench coat, too. Yeah. You stand around at night in the fog and basically do the lead in to whatever stories they're talking about. Unsolved Mysteries was looked upon as mostly mysteries of crimes that were never solved and that sort of thing. But they did go off into other weird crab ghost stories and UFOs. And that was the first time I'd seen the Roswell story. And I tell you, it's probably one of the best takes on it because it just, Did it happen? Probably not. But nevertheless, it's just really cool how they did that and unfolded it. It's probably on YouTube somewhere. It's a cool little segment they did with that. And so they would do a lot of stuff like that. And of course, America, what was it? America's Most Wanted. Yeah. Which was pure, crime. There's suspects on the loose and stuff like that. And it was seen as a competitor to it, but really Unsolved Mysteries was, had other, went off into other elements of story, if you will. Saint Ranger, the Helen Keller jokes were killing me. It's hilarious how something so disgusting and disturbing can, be hilarious. Don't worry, Helen Keller can't be hurt anymore. So, Nodak, welcome to the optimistic Happy Doug Drawing Show. Yes, it sounds like it was titled in Japan or something, Happy Doug Drawing Show. Oh, optimistic Happy Doug Drawing Show. Saint Ranger, I like perhaps but maybe nor like One Step Beyond. Oh, you mean the perhaps but maybe not? Show I did quite a few of them, so it got more epitheudes than like Mr. Sex Ed, of course. And I'll do some more. Probably this Egyptian city thing that everybody's talking about. I was like, well, throw that in there. Could there be a long lost relic of a lost civilization buried underneath the Great Pyramid? Perhaps, but maybe not. See, it goes like that. Like One Step Beyond. Wouldn't One Step Beyond supposed to be like a Twilight Zone thing? Or what, it was supposed to be based on true stories? I got to look that up. Those are around. Yeah, One Step Beyond. Yeah, and Saint Ranger remembers incredible but true. Yeah, the MP3s of those are readily available, so you could check those out. They're very short. They were meant to be, I think like 5-minute segments in between radio shows. And they would tell those stories. Saint Ranger, my dad thought a lot of books on many nonfiction subjects. One of them was Bermuda Triangle, UFOs, JFK, and many others, like the sinking of the Maine, etc. Yeah, all of that flows under the same umbrella of a lot of those things. And so you get a lot of it. And some are more compelling than others. Others is like, come on, it was just this or what have you, One of the stories that keeps coming back is the Mary Celeste, even though, probably they just ended up drowning out there in their boat when they drifted far from the ship and they had made a mistake. It wasn't really as dangerous as they thought. And it's just a sad story. But of course, the arrival of the crew that discovered the ship and it's, everything's in place. It looks like they had set a meal and then they're gone. There's that one and those guys who disappeared from that English lighthouse. Now, that one's a cool story too. But odds are the weather and stuff, they got washed out, and they're out in the ocean somewhere, Saint Ranger books, this baffling world, and strangely enough, were filled with bizarre, supposedly true stories. Yeah, I had a couple of or like my cousin had one that was the first time I'd heard of the Mothman. And then there was, had one, a look through secret doors or something like that. Stuff, there's tons of them and a lot of them cross over with the same stories and whatnot, but it's always cool. Just because they're weird. Saint Ranger, Doug should have been an artist for Playboy magazine. I agree. I should have had access to the mansion and all of it. In the 60s, working in the Little Annie Fanny color comic issue, each issue. Little Annie Fanny. That would have been great. There was this guy who did those full page ones. I think his name was Doug Sneed or Snade. Damn it. Why am I blanking on that guy? But he was really good. Those were quite a few of those he did. Eventually, Annie Fanny faded. I guess the original artist died or moved on. I don't know. Saint Ranger again, yes, and Flight 19 with the multiple Navy airplanes. Yeah, you had Flight 19, and they disappeared. And then there was, I thought there was only one. Was there two? A rescue plane searching, and then those disappeared. Now, it's certainly with one, I think there was enough evidence, and they said that there was quite a few stories about how unreliable the planes were and were given to, well, exploding. And I think there was enough witness as when they saw a flash or what have you, or that was the flying saucer that got it, and exploded. Flight 19, when you hear they were talking about the communications and whatnot, it's that the actual flight leader of the squad lost his cool and probably is sad to say, but is probably more to blame about what happened and how they got lost. There's different cool theories about where they might have ended up. Some of them think they might have even made it deep into Florida and crashed into the marsh there. Seems like by now you could have detected some wreckage from that. But as far as finding the planes on the ocean floor there, there's plenty of planes out there. I remember there was a couple of planes that kind of matched the planes of Flight 19, but it wasn't them. They got the markings were on it, and it's like, and then they're like, well, who are these guys? See, well, they came through the portal, the Bermuda Triangle portal, from a parallel universe, and another guy explained that depending on the conditions that and the speed with which they hit the ocean surface, it might have broke up the planes enough to where over time the remnants could have been scattered so far and literally ripped apart and scattered to where it's basically confetti, that there's really nothing to find, and so it was different theories about that. The rest is black holes, UFOs, time travel, I don't know, all that stuff, so of course a vacuum, someone wants to fill it with something, and that's what happens. Every conspiracy theory comes out of that quite a bit, when it's like and it's like there's no immediate explanation for something. Well, there you go, just anything's possible attitude towards it. But anyway, there you go, our pretty cop girl and stories about my podcast that led to the paranormal. Yes. Only a pair, though. Only two normals. The rest, abnormal. All right. Thanks for stopping by and watching me draw this lady. And I'll do something else tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe I thought I would do Nailsin News, but I don't know. The stories, they weren't that great. And a couple of them, well, they're New York related, so I might save that for Pat's show. And stuff like that, for Crime Report. Might draw a cartoon for it or something if I can get that done fast enough. And so that about wraps that up. So again, thanks for showing up. Hope to do it again soon, probably tomorrow night. I don't know that I'll get a morning show in, but if I'm up for it, maybe I will. That'll be a couple of hours, or maybe 4 or 5 hours from now. Might do that, but I can't promise it. Wednesday morning, I intend to do the Wednesday morning comics, and I haven't read any new comics, but I did read an old one, and I'm thinking, I didn't read the whole thing. It's an anthology. It's an old World's Finest comic, and might do that. If not, if I get some new ones, I got to go to town sometime in the morning, take care of some stuff. Maybe I can snatch up a few. I don't know yet. But anyway, there we go. Saint Ranger says she has a pair of normals. Yes, every woman should. Lovely normals. Thanks for the show, Doug. Thank you, Nodak. And thanks to everyone. All and to all, a good night. Oh, Thank you, Doug. You are an excellent host and entertainer. Well, thank you, Zane Rader. Greatly appreciated. All right, and with that, again, good night, all.
Nothing